go first to Chris McCoskey from the Detroit News.
Well, Case, now that that's kind of out of the way, what were your feelings? You looked from the outside calm and like you didn't seem overwhelmed by anything. Was there more roiling up inside of you?
No, I don't think so. I think that was one of my goals going into it, is just to be really calm and enjoy myself. And I'm not going to lie to you, I had a blast out there. It's tough that, I couldn't have a shutdown inning after, Candy's big homer and we ended up losing the game. That's obviously very tough. And, that's not what I want for this team. But I honestly, I was very happy with how I was able to compose myself. And that's the most fun I've had playing baseball ever. So I had a blast, and I was definitely glad that I could stay calm and stay focused.
Was there anything about your pitches that you were battling? Because it didn't look like it. Obviously, maybe later on, maybe in that fifth inning, things were staying up on you a little bit. But
yeah, the cutter honestly was really not doing what it was designed to do. I think it was kind of just spinning, and they took it a lot. It's like it was just kind of spinning and backing up a little bit at the top of the zone. But honestly, they weren't really hitting it. So it's kind of a weird thing where like it wasn't doing what I wanted it to, but they also weren't hitting it. And then the splitter, I was really commanding that really well and getting what I wanted out of that. And then the fifth came around and, left one up to Collins. I think he swings through that if I locate it down and if I bury that like I had been doing all game. And I think that probably completely changes the inning. So I really hate that I left that up to him. To Moncada, it was a 3-2 splitter. So, looking back, hindsight 2020, there's a base open. I probably should have taken my chances and buried that one as well. But I really didn't want to walk him. So honestly, tried to throw it for a strike, and I did, but he ended up hitting it and driving in a run. But like I said, hindsight 2020, I wish I could have buried both of those, and I think the innings, a lot different.
Great. Congratulations, Case.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. The next question comes from Brad Galley from Channel 7.
Casey, you've said that this was your lifelong goal, your only goal, to put that uniform on. Was there a moment where you sat down in your locker where you kind of looked and reflected before you left for the field today?
Honestly, man, I really try to normalize everything as much as I could. I try to, stick to my routine, my pregame routine, and just try to stay focused. So I think the time for reflection will be, tonight, tomorrow when I come back to the field and get prepared for next start. Because now I'm right in the middle of this thing, and it's what I'm going to be required to do on a daily basis, and it's everything I ever dreamed of. So I think the time for reflection for me is, going to be, tonight or tomorrow. But before the game, I really just tried to stay focused on the task at hand, which is trying to win a ball game. Good
stuff, man. You're a pro. Congrats.
Thanks, Brad. Our next question comes from Cody Stavenhagen from The Athletic.
Hey, Casey, you mentioned the splitter feeling good. You got a big strikeout, I think, to Tim Anderson on the splitter. Obviously, he's been red hot. Up until that fifth inning, how confident were you in the splitter?
Very confident. Even in the fifth, I was very confident with it. It's just I think I executed with it for the most part, except for Collins. I definitely feel like I should have buried that to Collins. But like I said, even to Moncada, I tried to throw it for a strike, and I did. I executed my plan. I think my plan was wrong. But I was very, very confident with the splitter, from the first inning. I actually did spike a couple, but I ended up getting a strikeout on that in the first. And so I was really happy with the splitter tonight.
For sure. After your outing, kind of what were your talks like with Rick Anderson and just what you're thinking kind of there on the bench?
Yeah, just basically what I just said, just how execution was there for the most part. Just the plan might have been wrong to – especially Moncada. I'm going back to that because it's eating me up. But to him for sure. And then we were just talking about how we need to refine the cutter in this week's bullpen and just get that doing what I really needed. I threw some good ones. I had some strikeouts on him, but there were a lot that were really backing up and just staying over the middle of the plate. And so we have to, fix that. And so that's kind of what the conversation was, and just how we're going to learn from this and prepare for next start this week.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate it, Casey.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Cody. Our next question comes from Jeff Seidel from the Detroit Free Press.
Congratulations. You said it was so much fun. What made it so much fun for you?
It's just I was really thankful for the opportunity to be back out there and just try to compete for something. It's been a long time since I've been able to do that, and it's also just where I wanted to compete. at the highest level, since I was a kid. So all those things, it just made it so much fun. And, pitching well early on just obviously helped that. So I really did have a blast, and I, competed my tail off, and, obviously not happy with the total outcome, but I did some things really well tonight that I'm going to build on and continue to do for the rest of the year.
It's hard to read your emotion after the game, or after you were done and you were sitting on the bench. What was your emotion at that? It almost looked like you were mad that you didn't get to the 6, or I don't want to put words in your mouth. What was the emotion right after you came out?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I mean, like I said, I had so much fun, and it's, it's everything I've ever dreamed of. But obviously, like, I wish I could have done more for my team, especially after, like I said, after Candy's big homer, like, as a starting pitcher, I have to go out there and get a shutdown inning, and I didn't do that. So definitely frustrated with that. So it's just combating, like, so frustrated, but, really happy to be where I am. So it's honestly like weird emotions, but, it was wild. I mean, it's just a weird thing to navigate, honestly.
Very cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Our next question comes from Evan Petzold of the Detroit Free Press.
Hey, Casey, saw you sitting over there or standing over there with Scooball and Matt Boyd. What are those conversations like with those guys? And obviously, having one who's been here for a little bit now, and then one who's just coming up with you. What's the value in being able to have those conversations just in different ways? And, kind of what all are those conversations about?
Yeah, very, very valuable. I mean, I've grown to respect experience a lot. I think I learned that in college, where just the people who've been there, done that, deserve a lot of respect. And so obviously I'm going to get that from Boyd. And then, what Tarek can bring to the table for me is he just see me more often. He mentioned to Moncada through the splitter that he hit, and Scoob said, I honestly thought you were really going to throw a cutter there. That's, the one pitch where I thought, I got that one wrong. And so that makes me think, would that have been a better option? Because, potentially Scoob had seen me execute that pitch in a similar scenario in the past. And so I can benefit from both of those guys, the experience of Boyd at this level, and the experience from Scoob having been around me so much and kind of learning me. And so we were kind of just going through some sequencing things and just trying to learn from those guys.
For sure. Thanks a ton.
Evan, we'll take two more. First, we'll go to Jason Beck from MLB.com.
Yeah, hi, Casey. Congrats on the strong outing. I'm sure some people watching this will call it an old school SEC pitching duel. Was there anything about what Dunning was able to do that kind of added to the intensity of that game for you?
Yeah, I mean, he obviously had a very good start, and he was pretty efficient, and we were kind of getting back out there pretty quick with each other. And so I think that helps the flow of a game. And that helps us stay in our rhythm. So it was cool. I never played against him in college, but obviously I know who he is, and I watched him a bunch back when he was at Florida. So he had a very good night tonight. So it was kind of cool to go back and forth with each other.
And second inning, it looked like you were at risk of being in a little bit of trouble there, and you got that out at third. What did you hear on that play, and how big of an out was that to kind of take some traffic off and let you relax?
Yeah, it was a huge play. Honestly, it took a big bounce, and I was waiting because, I obviously knew the runner was at second base, and I was waiting to kind of hear my directions on, if he's out stuck in between second and third, or if I should throw the ball to first. And so kind of was just like listening and waiting a bit, and they finally told me 3-3-3, and so I got it over there, and Isaac Isak put the tag on him, so that definitely changed the inning for sure. So that was a huge out.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. And we'll finally go to Bob Wojnowski of the Detroit News.
Hey, Casey, before the game, you certainly expressed that you were ready for this. Tigers expressed that they thought you were ready for this. So now that you went through it, was there anything that you experienced that you didn't expect? Anything catch you by surprise in your first outing?
I don't think so. I still firmly believe that I'm ready for this level. Like I said, I did a lot of things well tonight, and I was very comfortable out there and very, very collected, and I really feel like I belong. And the feedback that I got from coaches and teammates, I think would reflect that as well. So there just wasn't really a moment where I felt like I'm overmatched, or I'm kind of in the wrong place. So I did feel comfortable, and I do feel like I belong.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wojo. That's the last question we have. So, Casey, thank you for your time this evening. We're joined by Grayson Greiner in just a second. If you have a question for Grayson, please put in the chat, and we'll take those in the order they're received. Go first to Chris McCoskey from the Detroit News.
It's muted.
Thanks for helping us out, Grayson. With Casey today, he just didn't seem in awe of any of this. He seemed like he'd been pitching here for 5 years. Did you see that too?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all knew what we were getting based off what we saw in spring and summer camp. We knew we were getting a composed, competitive pitcher, and I think he probably had a good idea after he got drafted first overall. It wouldn't be too long before he got up here, and he relished the moment. He did a good job, and he kept us in the game there into the middle innings, and was very composed the whole time, and I thought he did a good job.
When he came out for the fifth, did he look appreciably different than he'd looked in the first 4 innings? I mean, could you tell pretty quick that maybe he'd lost something off fatigue or whatever it was?
Not really. He just left a couple split fingers, probably 6 inches, foot higher in the zone than he had previously in the game. He was getting swings and misses and strikeouts early in the game on that. And there in the fifth inning, he just left a few about knee high, and that's a really good hitting team. The White Sox can really hit. 1 through 9, they got a good lineup. So they took some good swings, and Casey left a few balls higher than he had previously in the game. And overall, I thought he threw the ball well.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. Our next question comes from Jason Beck from MLB.com.
Yeah, hey, Grayson, thanks for doing this. At what point did you realize how good his splitter was tonight, and how did it compare to what you had seen from him in spring training or in summer camp?
I thought today was the best I've seen it, being behind the plate. There'd be some times in spring training where he wouldn't have the feel for it, and he'd leave it up arm side, and we'd have to go to the cutter or the curveball. And then summer camp, it was pretty good. But today, the consistency he showed, from pitch one with it, or even in the bullpen pregame, knew it was going to be a pitch we could go to early and often. And he got a lot of his strikeouts on it, a lot of weak contact ground balls on it. So it's a very good pitch for him. I'm sure he's going to continue to work, and we're going to continue to work with him to get him deep in the games and give us a chance to win.
With what Casey had tonight, what was the game plan against Tim Anderson, knowing how hot he's been, and how frustrating was that fifth inning single he got, that seeing eye single? Yeah,
you said it was a seeing eye single. Casey did a good job with him. The main thing with Anderson, he's going to get his hits. He's have to try and limit his at bats, and Casey did a good job of pitching him inside and getting him off the outside part of the plate. And that fifth inning single, he found a good hole in the defense and got on base and got the inning started for him. But Casey had a good plan for him the whole day, and executed his pitch as well.
And last one for me, how much did you know about their guy Dunning going into this, and what impressed you about him aside from his fielding ability on that hard hit line drive?
I didn't know a whole lot. Saw some video of him in the minor leagues last year or the year before, and he's got a good arm, quick arm. It's kind of deceptive. Throws a little comeback two-seam fastball. Has good control with his breaking pitches, and we had that one good inning there where we put up some runs, but he kept us off balance.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. We'll go to Cody Stavenhagen from The Athletic.
Grayson talks about how Casey was pretty composed out there on the mound, but you were with him, before the game as he was throwing his bullpen. What was it like to just kind of observe him in that setting right before his major league debut?
It wasn't a whole lot different than the bullpens I've caught for him in spring training or summer camp or any other time, really. He's pretty much goes through the same routine every fifth day that he's out there. And, we talked about what signs we were going to use on second. We talked about what plan we wanted to have with Anderson from batter one. So we weren't really talking about, the moment you've worked for your whole life and the big stage and all that. It was just another start for him. And it was pretty cool to see. I remember my debut, I was a nervous wreck, and he was very calm and composed. It was impressive to see.
All right. Thanks, Grayson.
Thanks, Cody. Our next question comes from Evan Petzold of the Detroit Free Press.
Hey, Grayson, appreciate all the insight on Casey, but for you, man, I mean, despite the loss, how fun was this just to do this with Casey and be able to go out there with him for his debut?
It's never fun losing. When we get back in the clubhouse, nobody's really having fun when we lose. Our goal every day is to go out there and win, and when you lose, it sucks. But to be able to, Casey's probably been waiting for this moment his whole life, and to be the catcher that got to work with him, and he threw the ball very well. It was a special day for him. I'm happy for him and his family and all the work that it's taken to get here, and I think he's going to be a very good player for a long time. So hopefully when he's telling his grandkids when he made his debut, he talks about the catcher a little bit.
Thanks.
Thanks, Evan. Looks like the last question we have. So, Grayson, thank you for your time this evening. We're joined by January Candelario. Just take our first question from Chris McCoskey of the Detroit News.
Hey, Gardy, what's the challenge here between, you want to kind of celebrate what Casey did, and yet you're stuck in this losing streak? Is that kind of pulling you, kind of a bittersweet thing, I guess?
No, we're just going about our business as usual. We played a pretty decent ball game today, and they got us at the end, a couple of home runs, but there was a good feeling in the dugout. Casey was good. His pitch count started getting up there, and our catcher said he was starting to lose it. The splitter was not really doing too much at the end, and I'm sure that's just the adrenaline flow going back out there that many times. So he was impressive, for the first 3 or 4 innings. That was impressive to watch. And made a couple of mistakes late, but you know what? He did his job. We didn't want him to, we didn't want to overwhelm him or try to make him go too long after that. It was fun watching him pitch. The guy can really pitch. The first 3 or 4 innings were really good. And, like I said, looked like, just talking with our catcher again, Greiner said his split quit having the action on it, and that's the one that got hit a couple of times.
His demeanor, the way his presence in the dugout between innings, pretty much as advertised, didn't really seem like anything was affecting him.
No, he was good. Like I said, he handles himself really, really well, and he's facing a really hot team over there, and he handled them pretty doggone good. A couple times through the lineup, and eventually, looked like he ran out of gas a little bit, and that's probably the emotional high, and all of a sudden your body just says no thank you anymore, and that's probably what happened.
Thanks, Ron.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Chris. Our next question comes from Brad Galley from Channel 7.
You guys had clutch hitting. You had great bullpen work throughout the first couple weeks of the season. When those things kind of go at the same time, how tough has it been to see Soto take a couple of stumbles here after how hot he started, and the clutch hitting really hasn't been there in response?
Yeah, it's tough. It's not easy. I mean, we're going through a period here where, we lost some people. That makes a big difference. When Chrome went down, we haven't really put up, good numbers since. A couple of times we had some pretty good offensive outings, but it's all been more about our starting pitching, the injuries we've had, trying to pick and choose as we go through a ball game. And that kind of has got us setting back on our heels a little bit tonight. The intensity was there, the whole package. Mize, starting, everything was going pretty good. It felt good, the whole pack. Like I said, we just, Soto, the first home run he gave up, I mean, goodness gracious, that we thought it was a pop fly. We all went, yeah, Dave Braybrew hit it, and it just kept going. And then the second one was just a bad pitch. It's not the pitch you should throw there with a base open, and you got a couple of strikes. If he throws that slider again to Inkar, then you probably get him out. And he tried to pump a fastball in there and got it up, and he went deep again. But the kid's got a great arm, and he's going to go through these things. We have faith in him, and you know what? Farmer coming back here pretty soon. That's going to help us put him in a little less of those situations, earlier. But right now, he threw the fire of the ball tonight. Those are just great hitters, and this ball flies here.
You've been around a lot of really good pitchers in your career. I don't want to anoint Casey Mize as the Cy Young winner for the next 10 years, but when you watch him tonight, is it clear to you that he belongs in a Tigers uniform in the major leagues?
Well, he's doing fine. I mean, he was out there and he pitched fine, and we like the guy. We have liked him. Everybody's liked him, and it's nice to see him up here with us in the big leagues now. And now we've got to get him into the routine of every 5th day, and we'll see how he does the rest of the way. We all know that the kid's really special talent. And you know what? There's going to take a few bumps here and there. Pretty much every pitcher I've ever been around has taken a few bumps in the big leagues, and then they get it all figured out, and you go from there. And he didn't really have much of a bump tonight, but like I said, he's pretty good.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Brad. Our next question comes from Jeff Seidel from the Detroit Free Press.
There were a couple times tonight where things could have spun out of control, like the home run or a double, but that didn't seem to faze him. What does that say about him?
Well, I mean, he's, like I said, he's a pretty polished pitcher, and he handles himself really well. He's got a really tough mindset that, you know, you're not going to get me. I'll figure this thing out. And he's got an assortment of pitches that he can go to and command all of them. So that tells you he's got the weapons to pitch at this level, no doubt about it. And you know what? We saw a pretty good pitcher out there tonight, which we're really excited about.
And after the game, it's hard to read what he's thinking, but he didn't look thrilled with himself. Even though it was a really good debut, I imagine he was ticked he didn't get the win. He was ticked he didn't go to 6, and that probably says something about his mentality as well.
Well, yeah, he's a very professional kid, and you know what? He gave us. We thought that, and I know he was running out of gas there at the end, and that's just the adrenaline. You know, from a major league start, your first start, you've been waiting for this your whole life, and you know what? All of a sudden, your body's going to hit its point where it's like, woof, out of gas. It hung up a little bit, and but still, that doesn't take away from what he did tonight. He did fine. That was fun to watch for your first major league outing against that hot team. That's pretty doggone good. He made some pretty good hitters look bad over there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Jeff. Our next question comes from Bob Wojnowski of the Detroit News.
Just sort of a quick follow-up on that. It looked like after you took him out, Mize out, that you guys were giving him some encouraging words on the bench. Was he saying much, or did you feel like you had to pick him up a little bit? He looked, I don't know, a little glum in the dugout after that.
Well, that's like I said, this guy really cares, and he wants to be successful at this level, and that was for a first outing in the big leagues against a team like that. He doesn't really realize how really well he threw the baseball, so he'll figure that out as we talk about him. Andy said over there talking to him, and you know that's kind of one of the things that's special about him. He's not satisfied ever. You know, if he gives up one run, he's not satisfied, and that's what's made him such a good pitcher. And you know what? We're lucky. We're going to get to see him for a while now, and that's pretty important.
Thanks, Bojo. Our next question comes from Jason Beck from MLB.com.
Yeah, hey, Gardy. On the other side, what did you think of their starter? How much did you know about him going in, and what impressed you about him?
Oh, he had good stuff. He had a great breaking ball. He had the pitches, you know, and a nice looking arm, you know, mid-90s, and a couple of nice breaking balls in there, threw some really big curve balls and some change ups, and yeah, he was a nice looking kid, nice looking young pitcher.
How much do you think the matchup between those two guys going inning for inning kind of added to the intensity, not just for them, but even all around, maybe even some of the hitters in general?
Well, I think our guys are just going about our business, trying to score some runs and help, you know, our pitcher, you know, get a win. And we were just attacking their guys best we possibly could. I don't think we were thinking about their top prospect versus ours. This is a big league. We're talking about they brought a pitcher up, we brought a pitcher up, and it's a good matchup. But it's all about the Tigers and the Chicago White Sox, and we didn't try to get into all that stuff. That's kind of you guys can do that.
And after talking about Candelario's patience earlier today, it seemed like he took some good aggressive swings at some good pitches. How much of a hopeful sign is that for you about him?
He's confident right now. We said that, and we need him to be confident. We need him to hit. And, you know what, putting him up there, you know, we talked about, you know, how can we get our lineup where we have a little more on-base guys and get in front of somebody like Shoop and those guys. And Andy had a good day today. He really hit the ball hard, and even his last at bat, he crushed that ball too. So you know, we need that, and he'll help us.
Thank you.
Jason, we'll take one more for Gardy from Evan Petzold of the Detroit Free Press.
Hey, Ron, wanted to ask about Rick Anderson through all of this, right, with, you know, some of these young pitchers coming up. How much of a value is he to these guys? And I know, you know, Casey made a number of adjustments today, especially against Encarnacion the second time that he faced him. how much of that is Rick? How much of that is Casey? I mean, where does that kind of fall in line?
Well, Andy's, I've had him for a long time. He's a really intelligent pitching coach. He melds really good with the pitchers. He knows what he needs to say to them, and he's a calming influence, but he's not afraid to jump their butt. And some of the things they do out on the mound, and I think our pitchers appreciate that. But he knows his business. He knows his stuff, and he's helped a lot of really good pitchers develop in our past career. So I have total trust in him when he's sitting over there talking with his guys. He's not only giving them a little bit of grief, he's also telling them, how well they did and all those things. So he might knock them down just a step or two, but then he's going to pick them right back up. So he's a good pitching coach.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Evan. That's the last question we have. So, Gardy, thank you for your time this evening. We're joined by Jamer Candelario. Just a second.